Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Emma's Market Spotlight Netherlands. My name is Michelle Ronquillo, and I am Emma's event manager. Emma unites music managers, trade organizations across 13 European countries with over 2,000 members. Our mission is to bolster European managers globally through the Empower program, encompassing education, advocacy, networking, and research. If you want to know more, please visit our website and follow us on social media. I'll put the links in the chat in a little bit. And if you would like to connect, I'm also going to share a link where you can add your contact details and connect with the people attending this event. So I'm going to share the agenda of today. We have a very stellar lineup, and the session will be moderated by our very own Jess Patridge, Emma Executive Director. And there will be some time at the end of the session for some questions, but please feel free to add the questions in the chat, and then we will pile them up and read them at the end. And over to you, Jess.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I am going to share my screen. So we're going to start with me giving a quick overview. Just once Michelle has, yeah, there you go. Quick overview of the market. I do want to say that it is a much more diverse market than we have here, although we do have a good genre diversity. However, yes, the way that things worked out, it didn't, it's not as representative as it could be. We're very aware of that and apologize for it. And yeah, so just to give you first a quick overview of the market. Sorry, I'm just presenting via Canva. Should have heard that. Audience window. See, this keeps not working for me properly. That's a shame. Let me make this bigger. And then
you can just send it to me if you want.
No, it's fine. Just do it this way. Everyone can see. You can also see my horrendous tabs. I'll just cover those up. First of all, thank you to Musical.ly and thank you to Steijn, who both helped me find some more stats and information about the profile of the Netherlands. Hopefully, you know some information about it. But to give you just a quick overview, it's a very heavily streaming market. It reflects a lot of Western Europe in terms of how it operates. There's a huge amount of growth in that. It obviously uses a euro. It grew by 11% in 2022. A lot of these stats are really, really recent, and they're coming from a number of studies by the Organization for Live Music and from the worldwide. I'll remember it in a second. Anyway, the growth of streaming seems to be really, really consistent and growing by 10% year on year. It counted for 79% of Dutch industry's income, making it the primary source, which is fairly regular for a lot of Western European markets. Dutch music within the Netherlands has a really strong presence in the charts, and I'll mention this on the next slide, but this is a lot to do with hip-hop, Dutch hip-hop becoming so popular within the Netherlands. But for album sales, there's a lot of room for international acts, especially Harry Styles taking first place as the best-selling album in 2022. And 10 of the best streaming songs in 2023 had 7 Dutch sang songs by 5 Dutch artists. So you can really see that there is a passion for homegrown talent. They really are embracing artists from the Netherlands, but there's also a lot of room for international acts, which is where you come in. More figures. As I said, the rise of streaming has been linked to the popularity of Dutch hip hop, but dance music actually remains the country's main musical export. One of the reasons we're thrilled to have Wiecher from ADE here. And 85% of young adults aged 18 to 22 in the Netherlands stream music. Again, this is a pretty common amount. It is on the high side. And then for 40 plus year olds, only 25% of them tend to stream music. And that's on the low side. So quite interesting diversity there. Streaming, as we said, is dominating, but there has been an uptick when it comes to physical, mostly because of vinyl. Again, this is a very common trend that we're seeing throughout Europe. So live music, the VMPF is the Dutch Association of Music Venues and Festivals, and in 2023, there were 68 music venues and 55 music festivals. Obviously, not every single one is a member, but it's quite a good indicator when it comes to helping us understand the market. So a lot of this is the venues themselves doing concerts within their own spaces, 42.3%, which again shows you that when trying to do a show, maybe, well, we'll investigate this, maybe it's best to go through the venue. Music venues spent 61 million on direct program costs, with an income on the last point here of 176 million. So it's definitely profitable. It seems to be quite strong, and it bounced back pretty well from COVID. I don't know whether the real feeling, again, this is something we'll investigate, but I don't know whether that is the feeling within the country. However, the stats are leaning towards that way. Again, I wanted to share this particularly to show that the ratio of homegrown Dutch artists to foreign artists when it comes to live shows. So at concerts, we see a lot more, and obviously 2020 and 21 were impacted by COVID, so there were a lot less international artists, but it's coming back to around 40%. So yeah, again, loads of space for international artists at many, many levels. And when it comes to club nights, there's a lot less foreign artists, which is super interesting. If you're looking for the key cities, using the VMPF's figures and membership, you can see these clusters forming around the different cities. And these are the 5 key cities that we see the most activity in. I'm sure that there are plenty of other exciting scenes coming up, but that might be a good place to start when thinking about touring. So also just want to point out some music organizations. So if you want to find out more and you want to understand more, where you can kind of start when it comes to the Netherlands. So Dutch Music Export are the export office for Dutch music. Obviously, they fund a lot of activity. They also have had funds in the past and ongoing for people who are invited to events within the Netherlands to travel there as well, which is really cool because there's not that many incoming export funds. Dutch Culture are a mobility info point. They do have tons of information and a great place to start, but they do cover all of culture, not just music. Then we have the MMF NL, obviously for those as role managers. It's a great place to start if you want to connect with the Netherlands. Buma Strema are the PRO in the Netherlands. NVPI, the Trade Association for the Film and Music Industry, again, have interesting information and could be a good connecting point, and the VMPF also. I wanted to add ESNS radar here. Oskar will go into more about it, but it's a really useful tool, especially if you want to understand more about the European scene as a whole and what venues, what festivals, and all of these things might exist. And funding and more information on supported activity is on this link. We can send you this presentation, and this link is goes to a funding guide, which is on a website called On the Move, which has a whole bunch of different funding options for Dutch artists mostly. But again, interesting to see what organizations exist that was my very quick overview. And I don't want to keep it too long, and I know it's not in depth at all. The whole idea is that we'll get a lot more color and information from our wonderful guests, all of whom have a range of expertise and a range of different genre knowledge. So thank you all for being here. Before we launch into it, I'd love to ask Pieter to give us a bit more information about the MMF-NL. So yeah, we can work out where to connect with you. Pieter, please tell us more about the MMF.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. MMF-NL is the, as you know, the Music Managers Forum, the organization for music managers in the Netherlands. We're still a growing organization. At this moment, we have around 100 members. Mostly are managers that work in pop music and alternative music, but also a few hip-hop managers and a few dance managers, and we hope to grow in every genre. What we do in the Netherlands is we organize our own meetups, physically, mostly in Utrecht. And we organize panels over there and network sessions that we can meet each other in real life. Next to that, we organize panels at conferences like Eurosonic Noorderslag, ADE, but also at the regional music conferences with for musicians. And we're also a member of the Pop Coalition in the Netherlands. That's an organization that has the lobby with the government in the Netherlands. And we're at this moment we're working a lot on fair practice for musicians, fair payments. We work on a code of practice for the managers in the Netherlands. And we at this moment we talk a lot about the payment for musicians from the public radio stations, etc. Mm-hmm. So those are the most important things at this moment that we are working on.
Great.
Yeah.
And yeah, there'll be opportunities to connect with you at Eurosonic, I'm sure.
Of course.
In January. So anyone who's there, please keep an eye out for any announcements around that, because we'd love to meet you in person. Thanks so much for that, Pieter. I'm just going to get everyone to introduce themselves and say more about what they do so that we can move into the conversation. Steijn, I'm going to go on the order of my screen. No favorites. Steijn, please tell me all about your work and what you do.
Well, do you have a minute? No, my name is Steijn Koeijvoets, which is very hard to pronounce if you're Dutch or if you're from another country. I'm a managing partner for 3S Music Management, and in my daily routine, I manage acts and help them get a career in the Netherlands and abroad. Work mainly consisting of preparing or helping the creative process, as well as the marketing and the touring. And besides that, I'm a board member of EMA. So that's a short version.
And what kind of music do you work with? And what's so exciting about the Netherlands? Why should we all be bringing our artists there?
I think because we are a very small country, but very open to different genres. So apart from obviously Dutch sang songs, but even that it can be divided into different genres. But I think we are we are open to a lot of genres coming from well, being a small country with a lot of foreign influences. So there are different scenes, and I think that's that can be very attractive to many people.
For sure, definitely.
And yeah, so.
Thanks. So, and what genres do you work with mostly, just so that we know and people?
Mostly on the more alternative genres. So it goes from global to electronic, but we have indie rock, some jazz, and as I said, global, alternative pop. So many genres. Maybe we are Dutch after all.
Great. Yeah, as you said, open to many genres. Oskar, I'd love to hear from you. What do you do, and what's so exciting about the Netherlands?
Hi, my name is Oskar. I work for Eurosonic Noorderslag. I work as a booker, more specifically as the international booker, so really focusing on the European talents. Besides that, I'm also helping out with general program, but also 2 European projects that we do as a part of ESNS, which one is ESNS Exchange. It's a festival corporation working together with the export offices. I can maybe explain about this a little bit later. And the other one is the MME Awards, or the Music Moves Europe Awards. Well, it's basically a European Commission's music prize that we give away at ESNS. Besides that, I like to work with data. Jess already mentioned before the ESNS Radar. This is something that I've created together with my colleagues. Also, maybe we can talk about this a little bit later. And finally, I'm also a booker for another Dutch festival, which is in Rotterdam, Multi Mosaic. And that one is not a showcase festival as ESNS is, but it's really a audience festival, which is also really nice and diverse.
Amazing. And what cities are ESNS and the other festival you work on based in?
Right. So Eurosonic is based in Groningen. This is up in the north, and it's a really cool city because it's tiny, but it has many different venues, and those venues can really go from a tiny club to a massive, beautiful theater. But also sometimes we go wild and just book a very strange club for a showcase. We were at schools, we were at churches, and so on. So it's really, if you haven't been at Eurosonic, I think it's really, the discovery of all the venues is really something special. And the other festival, which I book, is in Rotterdam. It's also a festival, a venue festival. Also, in terms of genres, maybe that's interesting. At Eurosonic, we really don't have a genre scope. Maybe we're focusing mainly on pop and rock, but we have a venue for metal. On the other side, we have a night with neoclassical music. So it's really diverse. A lot of hip hop also. So pretty open to any genre.
Amazing. Thanks so much. And yes, we will definitely come back to the ESNS Radar, and I can definitely back up the venues and the scene in Groningen are incredible. Really fun. Everything's super close together. Very easy to run around, see loads of acts, see loads of amazing venues. So it's great. And Wiecher, I would love you to go next.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, I'm Wiecher. So it's also hard to pronounce for non-Dutch people. I work for ADE. My background is more from organizing festivals in Amsterdam. So I had my own festival for a long time, more focusing on hip-hop, electronic sounds. Since a couple of years, I'm attached to ADE and responsible for the program of the conference. To explain a little bit more how ADE works, probably the most of you heard about it. Maybe some of you been there as well. But ADE started roughly 25 years ago from, it was founded by BUMA, so the rights organization here, really to promote the Dutch electronic music to foreign buyers, basically. So it was a small conference always. And since, let's say, 10, 15 years, it also became more a festival. So the nighttime festival. And that's really something it's not something we curate ourselves. So it's not programmed by ADE, but we curate the clubs and venues and promoters who can join ADE, and they book all the artists and promote all the events, and together we turn it into one big indoor festival, basically. So I think it's different than how Eurosonic works, where also the programming of all the acts is done by Eurosonic, and we do that with a reason, because we also think that the venues, the promoters, the clubs know better what's really happening in that scene than our small team of programmers. But what we do ourselves is programming the conference. So that's basically 4 days of, we call it ADE Pro. So it's for people like you, all the business professionals, and basically every subject is being spoken about. But also we do a lot of things with workshops, or a lot of one-on-one sessions that people really can meet each other. So it's not only panels where you sit and listen, but it's really try to encourage everybody to really roll up their sleeves and actively try to meet each other. And we also got ADE Lab, and that's really for the up and coming producers and artists and people who want to work in the music industry. And it's more a talent development program. So that's also 4 days, same period, but that's for the up and coming people. And there we have a lot of demo drops, really low entry level explanation of how the whole industry works, what managers can do for you as an artist, what publishers do, etc., etc. So we got like a pro and a low entry level conference going on. And what's also growing more and more is more a crossover part. So we work a lot with artists, like dancers, like people who make light objects. Everything that's attached to the electronic dance music is also programmed. And we do that also together with big EACEA throughout the whole city. So it's becoming really a big thing last year.
Huge. I mean, it's one of the key events if you are working with electronic musicians of any
Definitely.
kind of subgenre. Super important.
Yeah. And with electronic, it's really a broad thing, because also like when we talk about, for instance, hip hop, it's also really electronic. It's made on the same samplers as like house or techno, etc. So that's also more and more coming into the festival. Back in the days, it was more like EDM, house, techno, and now it's getting more diverse.
Yes,
and you also see it back at the conference more and more now.
Amazing. And so if you do want to get booked or you want to present your artist, you were saying that it's booked more individually by the different venues and things like that. How would you present your artist? Is there an open call, or do you think it's best to go to the individual venues and make relationships with them?
Yeah, we have this year we started with it again. It's an open call for DJs, but it's really for the up and coming DJs. We even say it's for DJs who never played before. So it's really the people in their homes, looking for their first gig. Because it's always that first gig you need in your life. So we try to give a place for that. But if you are a little bit more established, it's really about getting connected with all the promoters in Amsterdam. Also, a lot of people from outside, a lot of big companies from outside of Holland promote events here in Amsterdam during ADE. But so either if you want to do like a showcase or a club night yourself with your own artist or your own artist you represent, it's really, this is the time, because now a lot of things getting booked already, to get in touch with all the venues. If you go to our website, you see all the venues listed who are attached to ADE. It's roughly 150, so it's from big venues like 15,000 people Pax venues like Ziggo Dome to really small clubs for a couple hundred people. So it's pretty broad, and there you can quite easily see who's attached to us. So you can link with these venues and see. Sometimes the venues promote it themselves, but sometimes they have promoters who doing club night. So they're
it's a mix,
promoters there. So yeah, it's you really have to dive into
you gotta make some friends. You gotta do some research in order to get booked. Okay,
come out here and really do your networking here during ADE for the next year. So that's what a lot of people do as well.
That's great advice.
And buy your pro pass so you can access also our data delegate base, and then you can really get connected with everybody.
And Eurosonic has that as well. Obviously, if you're not working with dance music, Eurosonic
that works really well. So
has an amazing delegate database for you to find contacts across Europe for both of them as well. It's not just
no, it's being used very often. I think with the feedback we get as well is that a lot of people already meet before the event via that tool we have. So it's much easier to meet each other when you are in Amsterdam. And
thanks so much. Sorry, moving quickly on to Frank. Frank, it would be great to hear from you about what you do, and also just keen to know about the live scene a little bit more. Like any tips you have or information that we'd love to hear.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jess. And I think I have a relatively easy first name then. So anyways, so my name is Frank, and I in daily life I am a music researcher and with a word I try to prevent using, I'm a music consultant. However, I used to be a booking agent and a manager for a long time, and a festival organizer. That sort of gradually evolved towards a job doing more research. I work amongst others with Emma on analyzing a lot of their surveys, all of that, to sort of see the trends in music management in Europe, and working with organizations like Key Change on all of their analytics. So that's the research part. But as an advisor, I work a lot with these organizations that you just mentioned, Jess, the Dutch music organizations. And also a lot with their European counterparts. I help them with setting up international collaborations, or setting up research projects, funding issues, all of that. It's maybe not too relevant for individual managers, but it is very relevant for the organizations that you are a part of, or the organizations that sort of create the infrastructure of our sector. So that's my daily life. I've been a music manager for about a decade, so I know that side of the coin as well. And as a live booking agent for a decade as well, know the Dutch infrastructure still very well on the live side. So if you ask me for advice, maybe it's good to say that my genre speciality is mainly more alternative music and extreme music. So I come from like metal and punk and hardcore background, and that branched out to sort of alternative music in the broadest sense of the word. I had to laugh when you showed the Dutch map of the five cities, because for my genres, those cities are irrelevant. Well, not irrelevant, but there are.
That's good to know.
there are a few cities. If you're, for example, a metal band, don't go to Amsterdam. Don't start in Amsterdam, or don't start in Utrecht. Go to Tilburg or go to Eindhoven. If you are a garage punk band or a rock and roll band, go to Groningen. And there are like a lot of secondary cities in the Netherlands that have very specific scenes. And very active, very specific scenes, which can give you a start way faster than trying to pin a date in like one of the capital cities of the Netherlands, because that's an overcrowded market, which is very hard to penetrate, and a lot of competition there. So if you are a little bit more oriented towards certain, maybe more alternative genres that I was just mentioning, there is way better cities to start, and you will end up in those venues a bit further down in your career anyways, in Amsterdam, if you do well. But don't stare blind on it. So that would be my first and main advice.
That's super useful in terms of, and this is open to anyone, but in terms of shows, would you say coming to the Netherlands for the first time, you're avoiding Amsterdam? Do you do multiple shows in different cities?
Well,
is that good? Is the market big enough?
If you are asked to play there, of course, you should go. But I wouldn't, people, all the bands that I ever worked with, when they wanted to go abroad, the first thing they said, they want to go to the capital city, right? It's the city that people know. If you have a good reason to go there, please do. But if you don't, I think the Netherlands is big enough for an emerging band to do like 2 or 3 well distributed shows. So do one in the north, one in the middle or the center, or in the west, or in the east, and one in the south. It really depends a little bit also on the scene that you are a part of. But I think the Netherlands is big enough to do 2 to 3 shows if there is a bit of a demand for it, and they won't be in the way of each other. So
great. And someone else can answer this, but someone has asked, which venues or cities would you suggest for world folk or jazz genres, particularly? Anyone want to pick this up?
Yeah, I think that's really the bigger cities, because it's much more diverse, also the population. So I think it's more attracted to the bigger cities like Rotterdam. Rotterdam is pretty big for these kind of genres. Utrecht, Amsterdam, I think that's, from my point of view, the most interesting.
Yeah, and also the bigger cities have more venues that are subsidized or have funding.
Yeah.
So the risk of losing a lot of money is a bit less. So it's a mix of funding and audience. And there are but there are also some nice festivals in the south, like in Tilburg, for instance.
Yeah, it depends a bit what kind of jazz you're talking about. Because
sorry, I was talking about world.
Oh, sorry.
It's a world folk and jazz. Oskar, what were you gonna add?
I just wanted to comment a little bit on the venues and on the audience side of things. Because maybe also disclaimer, I'm not Dutch, so I live in the Netherlands for the past 10 years, but for me was all of this also like kind of a discovery, and comparing it from my country, I'm coming from the eastern part of Europe. For me, it was really amazing to see that you basically have an audience which can be very young going to a concert, and then in the same venue can be quite old. So I think it's very interesting to see that basically all generations keep on going to concerts, to see live music. And I think that also opens up more opportunities for different genres, for different artists, and for different kinds of festivals. So the audience in that sense, in my opinion, is really well educated, really, also interested in discovering new music. And the second thing is, I really think that we need to talk about agencies when we talk about live music, because the Netherlands is dominated by a lot of big agencies and small agencies. So if you're bringing your artist to this market, it's really important to have somebody on the ground that can help you connect with local promoters. You can do your own DIY show, but it's going to be probably in a squat and an anti-crack, something like this. But if you want to make money, if you really want to be successful in touring, then check the Dutch agencies, find the right agent who can represent or does represent already some foreign artists, connect with them, and try to have somebody on the ground who can represent you, not only in the Netherlands, but maybe also think broader. Benelux is quite big in that sense.
And if that's great advice. Thanks so much, Oskar. Definitely looking for people on the ground. But say you're trying to do your first show, and you don't have anyone on the ground, but you're trying to build a team in the Netherlands. Is it better to approach venues or promoters? How does the live side of things work for the Netherlands? For instance, in the UK, we have a lot of promoters who really curate the artists they work with, and then they pick the venues and they grow with the venues. They grow with the band. But does that work the same in the Netherlands, or do you kind of go direct through the venue, and the venue would put up posters and kind of do their own promotion?
I think to answer this, both is possible. A lot of the venues have their own program team who program their own shows, and it's more the concerts that are happening there. The promoters they get in-house are more promoting also the club nights, because it's another type of audience you need to draw. So we'll definitely look for both. And I think what already mentioned is an agent is a pretty important thing, because if you book an artist, if you know an agent is representing that artist, it doesn't have to be a big agent, but at least somebody who acts like an agent, then you have that first box checked. Okay, if an agent get involved, then this is probably a good act, because that's the first check you're going to do. Because there are so many, I think it was also somewhere in the comments, you get a lot of inquiries from just DJs or bands, but it's, when there's not a agent involved, I think it's harder for programmers to take the risk if it's not known artist yet.
Yeah.
And just moving quickly a little bit off of live, where are people discovering music in the Netherlands? Like, if I'm trying to build an audience there before I go there, is it through Spotify? Obviously streaming is really strong there. Is it social media? Do you have certain publications that people read within the Netherlands?
I think this is a really good question. What I experienced is more and more people program via data. So check Spotify how much people listen to this specific artist, and even in what region of the country this artist is being streamed. That's maybe the new school way, I don't know, but I think the old school way is that you just need that little touch of, you need to understand, okay, this is a potential hit. This is an artist that can grow either in my territory or abroad. So you're one of the first who booked that artist. I think a lot of festivals also, I think also for Oskar, for also the festivals you work for, we try to discover a lot of new artists, because we always want to be the first. The Dutch audience likes also to discover new.
They like new music.
Yeah, so that's also a possible.
That's good.
For new upcoming talents. So also look for the more showcase kind of festivals, not even like ADE or Eurosonic, but there are a lot of small or mid-sized festivals who also try to push new talent. And then you won't get maybe the proper fees, but at least you get that first boost of promotion.
Steijn, I think you were you going to add something there in terms of where people are discovering?
I was just looking at the comments, and Frank is on a roll with
he is. If anyone's
with smaller festivals, I don't think we differ that much from other territories, if I may say, for music discovery. I think every showcase wants to showcase artists first, and make people aware of a certain trend. I think from the other way, if you're a manager or an artist, data can help you a lot, and I think you can do a lot yourself. Obviously, depending on the genre. If you're a mainstream genre, things will be harder. But if you are more specific genre, you can target easily the people you would like to target, and do some research in certain venues and regions in the Netherlands. I think that can easily be researched, and then you can start at least building your audience. Obviously, what has been said about an agent and such is really important, but I think good research is quintessential.
If I can pipe into this also a little bit more, I think that, you said streaming is strong in the Netherlands. This is, of course, correct, but I think Spotify is strong in the Netherlands. Nobody uses Deezer. Nobody uses Apple Music. Very, very
Tidal.
like Tidal. Okay, but it's really marginal. Huh? When we talk about those 60% of users, we're talking about Spotify. So those numbers are being considered. It's not like in France where Deezer would be also used as a mainstream streaming service. So I think that that's important to know. So everybody, not everybody, people like to look at Spotify numbers. So that's quite important. But I noticed another thing that really, well, maybe it's also just me, but maybe the other panelists also have an opinion on this. I do think that if an artist has foreign press, that kind of makes us, oh, this is cool. I want to know more. You know, if your artist is being played on BBC Radio 6 by Iggy Pop, hey, I'm definitely going to book that Italian artist. You know what I mean? And it doesn't need to be Iggy Pop. It can be also whatever, James Supernova, or it can be Fit Radio. So I'm talking about like certain quality press is quite known in the Netherlands. It doesn't need to be Dutch press that is going to give you an entry point to the market. You just need to have something strong.
That's super interesting. Thank you. Yeah, so your international press can really play a part here. Well, while we're talking actually about kind of stats and looking at where people are, but do you want to give a little bit more information about ESNS radar, Oskar? Do you mind?
Sure. But yeah, I'll keep it brief because we are also quite tight on time. Basically, with Eurosonic during the 2020, after the 2020 edition, because we still had a physical edition of Eurosonic in 2020, we started looking at what can we do digitally, and we decided to invest in data. So we made a collaboration with Soundcharts, which is a data providing system, and then we got all this kind of information from social media channels to streaming to AirPlay, and we put it all together in a very, very simple way. So it's not like this dashboard that you would lose your senses in. It's just like simple graphs that everybody can read, and everybody who attends Eurosonic gets free access to this. So this is like behind the scenes. It's called ESNS Analytics, and it's really just for our delegates. And then on the other side, you have ESNS Radar, which is public information. Everybody can access it. It's mainly charts. So it's mainly like European charts about up-and-coming emerging acts, and also like general trends on TikTok, but all European artists. So we're really trying to find the newcomers from the continent. Another thing that we added then more recently after the pandemic, and I think it's quite interesting for bookers like myself, it's the database of 130 festivals from across Europe and even abroad that we follow. So basically full lineups are being collected and put in this overview. And if you check the most booked artists in 2023, you're going to see which acts were the most popular in the last year's summer. And this can give you either inspiration, how to what do you want to book for your festival, but also it gives you a sense of what those festivals are interested in or what is trending right now. And yeah, if you play a little bit with the filters on the bookings page, you can filter out all artists or only ESNS acts, or even just outside of European acts. So it's quite an interesting tool if you have some time and interest in this kind of stuff.
I mean, I think it's really interesting, especially if you're looking for maybe partners or bands, artists to reach out to from different countries. So, I'm just then clicking around on it for fun. I was looking for emerging artists from the Netherlands through the charts, and I was able, there's a few artists there immediately that I think, okay, well, I can check them out, see if they're similar to my artists and whether maybe I can reach out, want to collaborate. Because I think in terms of getting into other countries, that's a really important way to do it. I'm going to continue asking questions, but if anyone does have a question, you've been great at throwing them across. Now is the time to say it, and I'll make sure it gets asked. But we haven't really touched on the recorded industry. Do you have both of underground record labels, small record labels? Is there an exciting scene there that maybe people can tap into to get into the Netherlands as a market? I don't know who wants to answer.
If you're an underground country band, you can check with me. No,
Underground country, go straight to Frank. Right.
Yeah, I have a little side hustle, which is a country label, but that's more of a hobby thing. But no, more on a more serious note, I think there's some cool underground labels in the Netherlands, coming from my perspective then, which do really well, like Subroutine Records, for example, who have an international appeal. I think they are a little bit more focused on signing Dutch bands and getting them abroad instead of the other way around. But maybe Oskar, you also are quite well aware of that scene. How do you look at that?
I think that Subroutine is amazing. I mean, Subroutine is a very underground thing. Let's be very clear here. It's tiny, it's niche, but it's definitely an entry point for punk bands that are coming from the rest of Europe. If I can definitely recommend to reach out to Koen, who's the neighbor manager.
Yeah, but that's a
very
very specific example, of course. But I think that there should be some more. I'm trying to think top of mind, but those underground labels can be a good point of entry or a good stepping stone to take a first step,
or a good place to find artists that you might want to collaborate with. Sorry, Wiecher.
I think one of the what differs or what makes us different than other territories is that a lot of labels have in-house PR people, so you can relatively enter the market with a small team, which isn't as costly as going abroad. But I think maybe Pieter, you do a lot of label work yourself or work with labels as well, so maybe you can chip in.
We do everything ourselves with our own company, Phonic Artist Management. All the 12 acts we have at our own company, we do ourselves. It's a label. Officially, it's a label Excited About Music, but all the artists that we manage are independent. We present them label services, and we hire a radio TV promoter. We do the press, the written press all ourselves. The Netherlands is a small country, and we have one media city that's Hilversum, so you can do a lot yourself.
I think to also answer this more from an electronic DJ side, you see more and more festivals who create their own label. For instance, let's say Dekmantel, probably a lot of people heard about. They pushing out music as well, and for artists they book a lot as well, so it's their little ecosystem they're building. A lot of DJs themselves who are a little successful invest a lot back in studios and their own labels, so they push artists in their slipstream and share their knowledge. You see it basically with every bigger Dutch DJ. They are always going into the field of label and signing young talents, and then they also give them a push via their own management to open for their slots or something, so they create their own little circle around them. So that's also, if you're more into the electronic side, I think festivals and DJs is also good to check out, because they have a lot of power. If they just push you on their Instagram, it's worth mostly more than a whole PR plan. And
just one post will have a huge.
So that's and they're huge. A lot of these DJs also in the underground, not even the mainstream, but also in their specific scene, they can create a lot of impact also by pushing new artists.
Amazing. We only have a few minutes left. Again, if you have any questions, pop them in right now. But in the meantime, I would love to ask more of you a more specific, what would be your recommendation, your number one recommendation, if you have an artist looking specific, maybe they've built up a small audience in the on streaming through in the Netherlands and they're looking to do that next step, what would be your number one recommendation? And Oskar, don't just say apply for Eurosonic.
Okay, you should, as a manager or as a representative, you should first go to Eurosonic without an artist.
Yes.
That's step number one. So that you a little bit scope out what's going on. So what is Eurosonic is, it's really a conference. So it's 4,000 music professionals from across Europe. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is Europe, Saturday is the Netherlands. If you want to get connected with Europeans, but also with the Dutch market, I really, and your artist is not an electronic site, it's really pop rock or any other niche genre, then Eurosonic is for you. I think that all the relevant people will be there. And go there by yourself, really make a lot of meetings, use the delegates database to arrange the meetings ahead of time. Also stay on the Saturday. Saturday is really a Dutch day. It's not a slag. It's only creme de la creme of the Dutch industry. You're gonna meet people like from Kimenai who are working really in the niche underground dark scene. But you will also meet, people who are really like up in the pops and the tops, and the media is there. So I think that it's really useful to be there, and you can make a lot of connections through this. And then, of course, if you do want to get into the Dutch market, I do think that it's essential to play Eurosonic as a showcase. But at that stage, you really need to have somebody on the ground from the Netherlands. In that case, you get your doors open to a showcase festival. All the Dutch promoters are there. Your agent is going to bring relevant people, relevant promoters to your showcase. And then from that point on, you can have a full summer or whatever, bookings from there. I can give you an example from Poland, since Poland is the focus country of Eurosonic. We had the first show of Hania Arani at ESNS. She's a classical, neoclassical artist from Poland. She was just signed with K7 when she played her showcase at Eurosonic. And after that, it basically exploded. Arde recorded a session with her at ESNS, and her full career, not only in the Netherlands, but also abroad, really flourished. So, I do think that we have very positive results for the artists.
Thanks. That's great. Anyone else want to add their last minute tips and thoughts about entering the Dutch market?
I think Oskar put it well, because he's obviously talking about his own event, but also from other perspective, the Eurosonic, also the time of year is perfect, because a lot of bookers wait for Eurosonic, and then the week after, a lot of bookings start falling because
the summer,
for the summer. So it's really an important moment. And if you, and it's all a hustle game, so it's reaching out to make sure you understand where all the venues are in Holland, and just start reaching out and understand who's the programmer, who programs artists similar like the artists you represent. So okay, these people are probably interested in my kind of sound, and really do the hustle. And I think underground people is necessary at the end, and you can all meet them basically in Groningen. Yeah, so.
I wanted to add to that I completely agree with what Wiecher and Oskar said. Maybe wanted to add to that I think doing trying to connect to less people more specifically is more effective than reaching a lot of people very generically. Mm-hmm. I remember well from my booking days that my mailbox always, every day we had like very, very, very generic emails. You obviously were like sent out to basically everybody. That's useless. People don't respond to that. If you connect to people and you show them that you put in an actual effort to do a little bit of research, and you know who you are connecting to or with, that always creates a bit of a better beginning and an understanding than just throwing info to them. That would be my main advice.
Yeah, yes. Maybe look at who they're working with in the Netherlands. And
I mean, I had a clear profile when I was a booking agent, but don't come to me with a pop rock funk cover band from the 80s. And I mean, that's an extreme example, but that's what you get, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, I can add to that just if you need to prepare, do your research. Don't overflood people with useless info, but that's the same for every country. I also have to add that we're very sorry for we have something unique in the Netherlands, which is called the Dutch disease, which is the audience yapping through shows. But as an emerging artist, that will not happen because you have the interested people. But sorry, international people.
And maybe there's a good question in the chat from Colin about
Yes. So Colin says, I manage an indie folk artist who's grown to 1.3 million monthly listeners over the past year. We're coming to the UK in May and the EU full tour in fall 2024, originally from Canada. Are there any soft ticket opportunities in the Netherlands that would help with solidifying a physical presence in the market?
Yes, there are some festivals, but I don't know if it's what's the one called in Paradiso again? It's London Calling, and the other one is Indie-stad.
Indie-stad, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it is at that time. I will.
Depends on timing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But what I also see, to add maybe also to this question, is in venues more and more people do more like sold out shows. So you don't have to, the booker doesn't really have to program you, but you just make a deal. You just basically pay for all the facilities in that specific venue, and you're just responsible yourself for also the ticket sales, and maybe you lose some money, but at least you get a proper gig in a proper venue. And yeah, we call it more sold out shows. It's more happened from bigger artists who were like, okay, I just want all the ticket revenue, I don't want to offer. But it also works pretty well for the smaller acts in the smaller venues, if you just also explain that you're willing to take a risk as an artist to if you lose some money, that you just in it together, basically.
Mm-hmm. Pieter, do you have any last tips or anything you want to add about the Netherlands, or even the soft ticket opportunities that might exist within the Netherlands?
The Netherlands is a festival country, so we have a lot of festivals, summer festivals. Also, Colin talked about the UK in May. May is also a festival month in the Netherlands, and there are a lot of festivals that have opportunities for emerging acts from the rest of the world. So I think that's also a possibility. And if you go to other European countries, you have to start in the venues. But in the Netherlands, it's also a possibility to start at pop and indie festivals.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's a great point. Well, it's the end of the session, and I don't want to take up any more of our wonderful speakers' time. I really, really appreciate you all joining us. It's been an incredible array of knowledge. And I also want to say, everyone, I've reshared the document in the chat to share your details. So anyone who wants to get in contact with other managers, especially if you've been sharing questions, pop your details in there, and you have a library of contacts there. And obviously, to finish it off, I want to say, make sure you join your local MMF. Here are our members, so you can find out more about where our members exist, and you can join. And if you're in the Netherlands, of course, get involved with the MMF NL, because there'll be a whole ton of opportunities, and we will see you all at Eurosonic in January. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
You just
Bye-bye.